Most of the questions about menopause on the internet have to do with when. When does menopause start? When does it end? How long does it last? And what are the ages of menopause? And what are the stages of menopause? And so I'm really excited to share with you this chart that is a truth bomb when it comes to answering all of those questions. It is a chart that I found on a virtual menopause care platform, and I just have found it so helpful in sharing with other women what's going on during the menopausal transition. And without further ado, let's take a look at this chart. I do just want to give you one warning about the chart. The chart is based on averages. So your experience may be different. Your timing, right? Your duration, your severity of your symptoms can be very different than what you're seeing here on the chart. And so just consider the chart a guide, and let's dive right in. Behold, the menopausal transition all in one snapshot. And so before we dive in, let me just give you a very quick orientation to what you're seeing. On the left side, on the vertical axis, is hormonal levels. So estrogen at the top, underneath is progesterone, underneath that is testosterone, and yes, women have testosterone, and underneath that is melatonin. Now, at the bottom of the chart is a horizontal line, is reflecting age, starting on the left with 25 years old on up to 70 years old on the right. If the chart went to 100, those lines, those flat lines, I like to think of them as smooth lines, they wouldn't change very much. Right, that would be that same kind of straight line all the way to the end. So let's dive in, right? Starting at the age of 35, look at the right of the line. Look at the beginning of the gradual reduction in estrogen and progesterone. Not as much from testosterone and melatonin yet, but it's just beginning gradually. And then now let's look at what starts happening around the age of 43, give or take a few years. Wow, pretty dramatic. Look at the estrogen. I mean, fluctuating like a Geiger counter, a Richter scale. Underneath that, progesterone dropping very dramatically, and even the testosterone and melatonin levels are by this point more pronounced. So this is perimenopause, and when a woman is still bleeding, she's still menstruating, she's still ovulating, she can still get pregnant, but as you can see, the hormones are beginning to change. And the official age is in the early 40s. The official duration is somewhere between 8 and 10 years. But again, each woman is different. Each woman is unique, especially if there are any medical issues. Let's take a look at the next significant milestone on the chart, and boom, look at what happens around the age of 50. All the hormones drop. This is menopause. This is when a woman stops bleeding, menstruating, ovulating. And so 50 is the average age when a woman has her last period, but it doesn't get counted until a year later. Officially, menopause gets declared 12 months after a woman has had no bleeding, no menstrual cycle. So on the 1-year anniversary, later she is officially menopaused. And then to the right of menopause, you can see again those lines that are on, again, that I like to call them smooth, not just flat, is postmenopause. And a woman is in postmenopause really for the rest of her life after she has menopause. So you may be wondering, well, what about hormone replacement therapy? How does that affect this chart? Well, especially during menopause and after menopause, the hormone levels may not drop as low because of the taking of estrogen or progesterone. And in some cases, some women take testosterone. It's like they may be at a higher level, but the woman is still not ovulating, right? So hormone replacement therapy doesn't change that. So I hope the chart was helpful to you in having a better, clearer understanding of the ages and stages of menopause, from pre-menopause to perimenopause, menopause, and then postmenopause. When I've shared this with women, some have made the observation that it kind of looks like a waterfall. And I love that image, right? Again, if you think about it like as a metaphor of, and there you are in pre-menopause, kind of like, oh, kind of heading towards the waterfall, and then whee of perimenopause, and then hitting menopause, right? And at first, for some women, it's a bit of a shift, right? And can be challenging, but then the waters calm down, right? And they become smoother. And that certainly has been my experience, and that of many others, is that postmenopause, things level out and are certainly not chaotic in the way that perimenopause was. So just want to make sure a few points are very clear for you from having looked at this truth bomb, right? From looking at this chart. And number one, as you can see, the menopausal transition starts earlier and lasts longer than most women think. And this is important for a number of reasons, but mainly because we need to take care of ourselves accordingly, and having the right information about what stage that we're in can help us in terms of getting the resources and tools that we need to have a better experience. What I'm finding in talking with so many women, that younger women, like starting like in the mid 30s to early 40s, oftentimes have the attitude of like, oh, I'm too young for menopause. It's not happening to me yet. And true confession, I was one of those women, 20 years ago. And then on the other end of the spectrum, older women, like in their 50s, 60s on up, can often have the attitude of like, oh, I'm done with that. I already went through it, and it's not affecting me anymore. And that's, as you see from this chart, that's not accurate. Number two, just regardless of how you feel, the process is the process, right? And so what I mean by that is that, great, if you're a woman that has mild symptoms, yay, but you're still going through this process. And hopefully your symptoms aren't too severe. 20% of women have very mild symptoms. 20% of women have severe symptoms, and about 60% are somewhere in between. Of course, hot flashes and some of the other like over 30 other symptoms. Yeah, we'll get to that in another video. Which leads us to the third point: is menopause is often confused, equated with hot flashes. And there's so much more going on than just hot flashes during this transition. And so, and I speak from experience on this, that I was in perimenopause for at least 5 years before I had my first hot flash. And I suffered migraines, insomnia, anxiety, and panic attacks, and had no idea that they were connected to my hormone levels. And here's the thing, which leads us to the next point, and neither did my doctors. That I went to doctors about these concerns, but because I was younger and my blood work came back, normal, they didn't connect the dots with my hormonal changes either. And this is a problem that a lot of women have. And you know why? And this is a real shocker. This is a truth bomb, if you haven't heard it before, is that doctors get little or no training on menopause in medical school. Even gynecologists. I know, it's crazy. So this is an issue, and we're going to talk about this more in the next video, and what can we do about it so that we get the medical support that we need during the transition, so that we have as positive an experience, a benefit as possible. And then the last thing I want to leave you with, and I'm passionate that not only are there challenges, during menopause, there are also opportunities that I call menopausal superpowers. That is, if a woman knows the secrets to turn them on. And I believe strongly that so much of the suffering that women have been experiencing during the menopausal transition is unnecessary because we don't have the information, the knowledge, we don't have the support that we need in order to not just survive, but thrive through menopause. So don't just look at the chart and feel like, oh, okay, now I'm doomed. No, there are things that you can do to make your experience, so much more pleasant and even positive. And we're going to get to that in the next couple of videos. We're going to go over like some of the traps that sabotage women during the menopause experience that you can avoid with foreknowledge. And then we're going to get into some of the secrets to turning on menopausal mojo, right? So thank you for watching. Please share your comments about what you found most valuable in the video, and share with other women if you think that this would be helpful to them in having a clear picture of the ages and stages of menopause. I'm Glamben, turn your menopausal superpowers, your go-to for inspiration, optimism, and empowerment when it comes to menopause, from peri to post.